And now we have 10 minutes for question answers. Please raise your hand and please.
Hello, Mr. Ranjit Singh.
Please introduce yourself first.
I have a specific question to Mr. Ranjit Singh. In fact, during his PowerPoint presentation, he touched upon key issues related to how ICT impacts scalability, how ICT has relation with interoperability, and the didactic approach to learning in the conventional Indian classrooms. Only one point I tend to disagree is, you were saying that the principles of pedagogy need not be changed when it comes to ICT. I'm not exactly sure of that.
Can you hear me?
You told in your lecture session. Yeah, I'm able to hear you.
You're able to hear me? Is this working? Yeah. Okay, it's working. Okay, so basically, if you look at teachers, I think the danger is if we start to tell teachers they have to change their lesson plan. That is not the answer. When you do a lesson, you have an outcome. The educational outcome has not changed. Whether you're teaching a particular subject, so I was asking if it was working. Right, that's better. So you have the educational outcome at the end hasn't changed. If you're teaching maths, science, whatever it is. So we don't want to get teachers to start to change their lesson plans because they're using ICT. ICT is information, communication, technology.
But don't you feel that the teacher who's handling this particular, you were touching upon one key issue, whether we require trained teachers for exclusively handling ICT. One of the panel members were discussing about that. Don't you feel that several skills and micro skills are associated with ICT, and the conventional approach which is adopted in the Indian classroom may not be suitable when it comes to ICT handling?
No, I don't. I mean, look. If you take the curriculum in India, CBSE curriculum, and it's like any other curriculum in the world, what you've got to do is identify where does ICT fit in. So you take, in the academic year, what you do is you take where does it fit in, which subject, and it's not always appropriate. So obviously we're not going to put ICT. It's not going to replace a science experiment. I mean, the reason we do science experiments is kinesthetic. We actually do the experiments. We're never going to replace that with ICT. It doesn't make any sense to do that. But what you've got to do is which topic areas, where does ICT fit in? But let me just finish. Let me give you a good, real example. When I was head of ICT in a school in the UK, I had a job where I had to teach Excel, Word, years ago. This is going back 96, 95. And I went out to see the history department, and the history department was teaching the 1851 census. And they were teaching the 1851 census. It's part of the history curriculum at high school. And they were finding out how many, handloom weavers lived in Manchester, who, whatever the statistics was. And I said to the history teacher, look, you're grappling with a database here. What you're actually looking at is you're trying to identify, you're trying to do queries and searches. Okay? So that's the context. I'm teaching about databases. So what I need to do is, rather than me teaching something very abstract, let's teach. Tell me what you need at the end. What are the results you need to find from the database? I'll go and teach that. So when the children then printed out the results of the searches they did, they went to the history department, they sat down, and that told them something. That's the point.
Yeah, I think it's...
Only one point, I'll just conclude.
Please,
only
yes.
one point. No,
we can take it up.
I'm talking about, you're talking about conventional teaching, and then coming to one point, sir, let me complete. When it comes to ICT, it is child-inspired learning. There, the principles involved are different. That is, I just want to reiterate only that point. The principles of pedagogy, which is followed in conventional classroom teaching or the didactic method, will not apply in ICT.
Okay, next question, please.
Yeah. So I just want to, the Microsoft was mentioned. I just want to make a small comment. Like, this is just like an illustration in the education system. So, because it's basically a vendor-based education. Today, Indian parents don't have so much money to buy this.
Okay, your question is very clear. It's a vendor-based education system.
So it should be vendor-neutral. And I'm just pointing this. He is exactly expressed a very good point. Like, pedagogy should not be changed. And free and open source software has a power to change the software and not pedagogy. So you can change your software
Yeah.
according to pedagogy.
Of Government of India, because you know CDAC. So I think that it's a very powerful event, and we have gone through so many new opening over there. So my point is, we're talking about the policy and the new product, what you are talking about. But here one thing, we know better our Indian scenario, and most of the schools and the teachers are in the village point of view. Here my request is one thing, what we are trying to introduce. The first of all, we should think about the target audience. Here we are talking about the content and the teaching procedure and other part. We are thinking slightly different on behalf of Government of India. That you know that on behalf of the Sarva Shiksha Vision program, it's all over India that took place. Well, the two factors. One factor is the procedure, and the second factor is the cost point of view. Now we have getting a very good solution, which is talking about the in-computing solution. So already they are introducing in India also. So we are very happy. So this type of solution we are very much require. First of all, one thing. The second part is, you see that on behalf of Government of India, there are so many learning solutions. Recently, DOACC, they have launched CCC. It's for the initial computer literacy, it is very much helpful. And in the various languages we have developed, and it is free. So any states, anybody can use, and for the school. For ICT initial, that is not the issue. The second point is the learning procedure. You see, the learning procedure, can you think it another manner that if we will empower the teacher, because teacher, they are the strengther, they are the powerful in their particular subject. So if you will just the template based any solution, so that the teacher can make his own the subject wise content, I think that it will be very much helpful, because we need not go for a high end say.
It's well taken because now we all agree. I think the teacher should be empowered and there should be content. But whether the teacher should get the ready-made content or whether he should 11:15.
No, it's all right. In West Bengal, we have starting this procedure, and really we are getting very good result, because they are getting very much interest.
That's good.
Yeah. So I think that could be incorporated, and thanks the in-computing people and the small laptop. What you were talking about, is it the battery should be there? No. So how we can charge the battery over there?
Solar charger.
Solar charger also.
And you can have electricity and cow power and bicycle and anything in your hand as well.
Okay. Thank you.
Even cow power will work.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
So 2-3 more questions. Yeah, please. Yes.
Good morning. I'm Vidya Sagar, the principal of Astrodrome Memorial School in Hyderabad. I have a question to Mr. Satish Jha. Your idea of bringing one laptop for every child in India, maybe, it's very excellent. And your PowerPoint presentation has showed a boy and a cow. It was really touching. But may I know who might have bought the laptop for him? The parents? Because your laptop costs 15,000 and you have a very good contrast of schools in villages and schools in the cities. But I'm concerned about the children who are studying in the countryside. Will their parents be able to spend 15,000 for a laptop?
Okay, quick response.
One thing I would like to say is right to education means that we have to educate our children as a state policy. Second, if education is not in the right context, is not appropriate, that's I wouldn't call education. I would say the education we've been giving today in the villages of India is primarily to produce domestic help for people living in urban India, which is not the idea of education. This is about learning, critical thinking, all the questions that KV has posed. Those are the kind of issues we're talking about, and they can happen from the very beginning. Lay the foundations at 4 years of age. Who gives it is government. Who gives it? Mr. Anwar Sadat and his minister was the first one to go for this idea as such, just about a year and a half ago. Foundations, microfinance, we can find n number of ways. My suggestion was very simply, Mr. Just give me 30 seconds, that if parents, those who are used to self-help groups and microfinance, they understand this, the biggest investment you can ever make, the best investment you can ever make of anything that you do is in education. Education, and earlier you make the investment, the better it is. So my submission was, If I borrow to Mr. Kapil Sibal $10 billion for getting every child in the country at 0.5% IDA rate and pay 50 years later, it's like being paid to get every child in the country have the education they can afford today, because that brings down my cost, just like you created infrastructure yesterday on IDA funding on 0.5% 50 years, we paid 50 years later. You can do this in India. Today we have a plan. That's how Uruguay is doing. Rwanda can do that. Rwanda has 1/3 our GDP per capita income. They can do that. Why can't we do that? Let's imagine, let's think ahead. Let's try to see how can we get the last child to learn. 15,000 is nothing for you and me and each of us. I went to California. Every member said, I'll adopt a village. If they did that, 100,000 villages are immediately taken up. Thank you.
Okay, now let us conclude the session with the final word from the panelist. Just concluding remarks.
Thank you very much. I think the issues that actually came up, needed a lot more discussion, but then it has opened up our mind and brain to think about it, and I'm sure the plan of action when it comes to developing one in terms of strategies, some of these points will find a place, and we have great hopes in India. We have shown people what we can do. Thank you very much.
As we are talking about the drafting the policy, then definitely we must thinking about equipping the schools with the required infrastructure, and also we should also equip the teacher by giving proper training, and again we should not stop with just training only. We should continuously support him thereafter also, and especially about the preparation of the resource materials. Of course, as I told, not all teachers are very capable in doing that, and that is why they have to be supported with materials prepared by others. So we cannot make every teacher prepare the materials on their own. So these are the three issues I think are very crucial in the policy. Right. Thank you.
I think we have great needs, we have products, we have capability. We just need to bring everything together. We just need to look at 360-degree holistic view, how we can do the best for India. Thanks.
I think today we have an opportunity to let every child learn. As soon as we take a view of 5 to 10 years, we can make every Indian capable. Mind is a terrible thing to waste. Let's not waste it. We have wasted for 6 decades. Let's not waste. Today it's possible to have 10 rupees per day per child, and you can give them the education that the best that today can offer, barring sociology. What skills they need to grow up, we can afford them today and transport them by 5-6 generations ahead and make them thinking people. In fact, children who are given answers, they become servants. Children who find answers, they become leaders. Let's make leaders out of them. Thank you.
I think that with education, I mean, if you went to a hospital 100 years ago and you went to a hospital today, it doesn't look the same. And what education is one of those arenas that in 100 years hasn't changed. And that's what's fascinating. I think that the interactive classroom of tomorrow is going to look very different than the interactive classroom of today, because the technology of tomorrow is very different. So, children are using mobile phones from 6, 7 years old. They're more powerful than computers we were using 5, 6 years ago. And I think what we've got to do is we've got to empower the teachers, because they're the key people in this. Because the students and the children will run with the technology because they're young. And we need to get the teachers engaged and get them stop being afraid of using the technology. And remember, they are the subject specialists. They're the people that are going to drive this. And we've got to get champions within schools to push this forward. Thank you.
I think in listening to all the debate over the last few days, it's very impressive the earnestness of how to bring up India education. And I think from what you saw in the presentations today, there's a lot of technologies out there. This is a great period in history to be making this movement. There's a lot of ability to integrate ICT and help you along the way and accelerate it much faster than, let's say, 30 years ago, when it would have been one mainframe sitting in one central city. So I think a lot of abilities here, and I look forward to seeing how this evolves and helping in any way that I can. Thank you.